everyone, welcome to today's share class. Today we're going to be sharing a recipe for grilled salmon. You know, we all need those quick, easy, healthy recipes that we can add in and just have it be a go-to recipe. And this is one of them. And the reason also I wanted to share it is that it goes amazing with the salad that I showed you I think a week ago. And so go back and take a look at the video for salad for the soul. And I mentioned in that video this grilled salmon recipe, so I thought it would be good to share it with you. So you can tie the two together, grow your own baby greens, and then pair it with this salmon recipe. And I know you guys will fall in love with it. So we're gonna get started. The way that this particular recipe works is it's a marinade for the grilled salmon. So I just grab a gallon size bag. And I've shared this tip before, but anytime you're working with bags and you have a lot of liquid and different things, just fold the top of your bag back. And then that way, anything that spills on it doesn't affect when you go to reseal it. That's just a helpful tip. So we are gonna get started. There's not too many ingredients in this, and so I'll just walk you through it. We're gonna start off with 1/3 cup of olive oil, and we'll just put this in the bag here. There we go. And then we're going to need 3 garlic cloves. You guys know that a lot of recipes call for 1 garlic clove, and that typically does not give enough flavor to a recipe to add in 1. So anytime you see a recipe that says 1, take it all the way up the, oh gosh, did you guys see that? Just had a garlic clove went flying here. Let me see if I can get this off of here without another one going flying. All right, there's 1, there's 2. And you guys know garlic can be a little messy, so I'm just going to tuck this off to the side, put that in a bowl. We'll just clean this up a little bit here. All right, that way we can easily chop this up here. So I always use the back of my hand and smash it, and then it just makes getting the peel off that much easier. It peels right off. Like I said, if you ever see a recipe that just has 1 garlic clove and you don't mind the taste of garlic, most people love it, up that to 3. And it just helps with the flavor. I never just, like I said, I never think it's enough flavor to just have 1 garlic clove. So 3 is great. The back of your hand and press down. And you guys, you know you can use minced garlic that you buy in a jar. I just don't feel that it tastes quite the same, and so I always try to use fresh. And we'll just mince this. This is a marinade, so you don't have to be terribly precise in how you mince this up. So don't worry if you have big chunks or anything. It won't be a problem, but just do try to get them. If you can get them as small as you can, go for that, just so it spreads around nicely on all the salmon that we're gonna add. And this particular recipe is for 6 salmon fillets, and so you can adjust it if you want. You can keep the same marinade recipe if you only need to do a couple, 3 or 4. So it's completely up to you, but I like to make this in particular because any leftover I just use for lunch, and it is great as leftovers, especially like I said with that salad. So we just take all of our garlic here, our 3 cloves, and we're gonna put it in the marinade here. Okay, so the next thing you're gonna need is some brown sugar. And what I like about this particular recipe, it's not heavy in sugar. I don't really like to cook evening meals with a bunch of sugar, but this just has a couple of tablespoons of brown sugar that you'll add. And for 6 salmon fillets, that's not bad at all. So we'll set that off to the side. And then we're gonna use soy sauce. The soy sauce you can buy in the jar. We tend to buy a big bulk of it, so I just put it in jars. That way I don't have to keep the big container in my refrigerator. So you're gonna need 2 tablespoons of soy sauce as well. So it's easy to remember. 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. And then the next thing we're gonna do is zest a lemon up. And you guys are gonna start, as you watch all of our share classes, you'll see that there's a common theme, and a lot of them is how I love to use citrus in recipes and using the zest. And it makes all the difference in the world to use that, the outer layer on a lemon, an orange, a lime, whatever you have. It adds such a great punch of flavor. And so I love, love, love using zest in a recipe. And like I said, any kind of citrus. But another reason is because it makes you so happy. You smell lemon if you and it's just a good old-fashioned aromatherapy, I think. And so it just makes you happy when you're preparing your meal for your family. And this is great, this particular recipe, because you can make it in the morning if you want to, the night before, when you get home from work, and put it together, and it just needs to marinate for a minimum of a half an hour. Or it can be overnight. So it's up to you. There we go. Almost there. Yeah, completely up to you as far as how long you would like to marinate it, and depending on your time that you have. So we've zested our lemon here. And I always liked, as you saw, that I chopped up the garlic with a chef's knife and the lemon with it. And I love it because it serves as a way to transport everything over to your bag. There we go. So our lemon zest is in there. So far, just to recap, we have the 1/3 cup of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, and then we zested a lemon and put that in there. And then next we're just gonna throw in some Dijon mustard. You can use whatever kind you have. I still have some on hand. This kind, it's organic Dijon mustard, just generic from Sprouts. And you need a teaspoon. And so I'm not particular. I just put a squirt in. I don't try to measure that out, because you guys know that trying to get mustard out of a little teeny tiny teaspoon is just tricky. So just put a squeeze inside your bag and you will be good to go. So the next level of our flavor profile for the salmon is going to be some herbs. And so I went out to my garden. I got a handful of thyme, and then it was funny, I went out to look for my parsley, and let me show you if I can find it here. This is all I found left of my parsley in my garden. So it's not quite enough. I thought I'd just go ahead and use it, but I just thought I'd show you what's left. It's October, so we're getting to the end of our herb season. But what's great about this particular recipe too is you can use dried herbs or fresh herbs. A lot of times in these classes I'll share with you which is best, but I've tried it with both and they're just as good. So don't worry if you don't have fresh on hand. Today I'm using fresh parsley and thyme. And so because I didn't have enough parsley, I'm going to use some dried that I have. And we are putting in a tablespoon. And you guys, after you cook long enough, you can do everything by the handful. Just a little palmful is a tablespoon. So that is our dried parsley I'm going to add to the bag. And then because I had this fresh thyme, I am just going to go ahead and take the leaves off the stems really quick. And you guys know that the trick to getting to strip thyme off of the stalk is just to grab it at the top and pull down. So it makes it go just a little bit quicker. There you go. And I've seen people, I mean, there's a lot of videos out there that say put it through a grater and, you know, pull the stalk through that. You can do it if you want to take the time to do it, but I think just doing it by hand is very simple, and you don't have to try to complicate it or anything with that. So we're looking for the same amount, just a handful of thyme. And like I said, if you don't have fresh on hand, just use the equivalent. A lot of times it'll tell you to use less. I would say for this recipe, we want that additional flavor profile. And so go ahead and use a full tablespoon of thyme. There we go. I'm going to try to get a stalk here and make it a little easier to strip it. There we go. And you guys, as you start to, you know, look at the recipes that we provide in these share classes, you'll start to see how the different layers of flavors make all the difference in your cooking. And so to skip something, it's just not going to quite turn out the way that you want it. So I highly recommend using all the ingredients as you go here. It does make a big difference. And you guys can play around with the flavors as you make this too. If you thought something was too potent, you know, just pull it out of there. But I think you'll love it. So we are almost done. You can see that big handful of thyme, it all works down to be just a little handful in the end once you get these tiny leaves off of the stalk. There we go, and we're almost done. There. All right. Just got a couple of tiny ones here I'll do. There we go. All right. So I'm just going to use my chef's knife and gather it all back onto the knife and put it into the bag. So about a tablespoon of fresh thyme, or like I said, use dried if you don't have that on hand. And then the last thing is you just need to add some salt and pepper. So I usually add about a teaspoon of salt, and then I add in about a half of a teaspoon of pepper. And that's all there is to it. So we have our olive oil, our brown sugar, soy sauce, lemon zest, Dijon mustard, our fresh parsley and thyme, and then some salt and pepper. So it's super simple. And what I love why I love putting it into a baggie like this, a garlic bag, is you just put it all towards the bottom, and then you can use your hand and squish it together to get it mixed up. And the reason I'm squishing it is because we had that mustard in there, and we just want to make sure that gets spread around. It just makes it easy. There we go. Great. So now I'm gonna go get my salmon, and we'll add the salmon to this. Okay, so here we have our salmon. So all I'm going to do is add it. We have 6 fillets, and I personally like to do fillets for my family. You can certainly do the whole fish as well. And then we're just gonna put all the fillets into the bag. And then I'm just gonna wash up my hands here real quick, touching that salmon before I seal it. Now it looks like my cat joined us, so I'm gonna get the cat off the table and rewash my hand. That's so funny that my cat jumped up on the table. I don't know if you guys saw that, but it's so funny. They usually go off in their own corners, but it never fails. Every time I'm filming these, they have to be right there, or usually it's my dog. All right, so I washed my hands up, and now I can unfold the top of our bag of marinade here. There we go. And just seal it up. There we go. And then now you can just give it a good shake. And I like to go upside down. And that way it gets nice and coated. And like I said before, you can marinate this for as little as 30 minutes, while you prepare other parts of your meal. If you're preparing a salad, you can work on that while it's marinating. And then it just takes a few minutes to grill these up. All right, so we've shaken this, and oh, you know how you guys, I just said that all my animals want to be in the picture, so my dog is pawing at the door right now, so he'll have to wait just a second. So we will just, you can set these in the fridge if you want, if it's going to be in there for a long time, or if it's just going to be 30 minutes and maybe you pulled these out of the freezer, let them defrost. I had pulled my salmon out of the freezer, so it's still pretty cold, so I'm just going to leave it on the counter for about 30 minutes and let it marinate. And sometimes, you know, after 10 minutes or so, I'll flip it over and just shake it a few more times just to make sure it's covering everything. So this particular recipe is so simple, as you guys can see. I highly recommend trying sockeyed salmon. It's going to be rich in color, and the taste is a true salmon flavor, I would say. So give that a shot with this recipe, and I know you'll love it even more. But again, you can use any salmon that you find, but that's a special one. I often, Costco carries it pretty often, and so I'll pick up some sockeye salmon in their freezer section. It comes in the little individual pouches. And when I didn't show you that part when I was taking them out of the pouch, but what I do, I always rinse off any protein that comes packaged. I'm never quite sure what the brine is, the solution that they put it in. If it's salt-based, I try to rinse that off. That way there's nothing chemically tasting or anything like that on our protein. So that is just a tip for you guys. So I will be back in about 30 minutes, and we'll head outside and put this on the grill, and we will finish up this recipe. Okay, so we're back, and it's been about 30 minutes marinating the salmon. And what you'll want to do is preheat your grill. You'll probably want to get it up to a temperature around at least 375, 400. Salmon doesn't take too long on the grill, but super important that you preheat it. And then also, when you're dealing with salmon, it's got a pretty delicate skin to it. And so it's very important that you oil your grill up. Otherwise, the flesh of your salmon will stick to the grill, and so that never works out really well. Alright, so I just usually pour just a tiny bowl of olive oil, and then I just take a brush and make sure that all the grill is coated with it. Now, one of my favorite times of year to grill is in the fall. Our weather in Colorado is so beautiful that, you know, we just try to enjoy every minute outside before winter hits, because winter here can last a little long. But if you don't have a grill outside, certainly you could do this inside. I highly recommend using a grill pan if you're going to do that though. Okay, so we'll set that off. And this is nice and hot, I can feel that. And so I'm just going to grab some tongs. All right. So we're just going to, oh, this smells so good. Oh my goodness, amazing smell. And a lot of times I'd love to go by the smell of something to know whether it's going to taste good or not. All right, so we're just going to close our lid here. And typically salmon takes about 4 to 6 minutes per side, but it really depends on the thickness of your fillet. Our fillets, as you guys can see, are about 1 inch thick. So I'm going to lean towards 4 minutes. I don't like to overcook salmon. To make it nice and moist on the inside, you don't want it dry. So we're going to go for about 4 minutes before we flip it over to the other side. So in the meantime, you guys can get your baby greens ready that we talked about in that last share class. If you have them, I like to prepare this salmon, like I said, put it on a bed of greens, and especially if they're the baby greens that we grew, makes it all the more special. So these are some of those. So I have some dry mustard greens in here, and I put some arugula, so there are a lot of different flavors in here. And then I drizzled just a little bit of that lemon parmesan dressing that we shared over this, and it just gives it another hint of flavor before we finish up with our salmon here. The other tip that I wanted to give you guys is, how we had that little bowl of olive oil that we brushed across the top. I like to use that same bowl and then take some of the marinade and pour it into the bowl. And we're just capturing some more of that flavor. And then you're just going to open your grill and go back and just brush it on the top, any place that may not have any. And it just makes it all the more flavorful. If you forget to do it, it's not a big deal. It's still delicious. But I think you're going to love how flavorful this fish is. All right. We have that all nice and covered with our marinade. And we're just on our last minute here. And what's interesting about salmon, I can just show you guys, open my grill back up, is you'll be able to see on the side as it cooks, and you can tell the doneness. It'll start to firm up. So it's been about a minute, and so we'll just flip these over here. Nice, and we have our nice char marks that we want. And so we'll just let that cook for another 4 minutes and we'll finish up. So in the meantime, I'm just going to clean this up and we will finish plating this in just a minute. Okay, so 4 minutes have gone by and we are ready to take these off the grill. So we had a total of 8 minutes, 4 minutes about on each side, depending on the thickness of your fillets. And I'm just going to plate them up. pan here, and I'll use this last one for us. And like I said, I'm just going to take this piece of fish and put it right on top of our dressed baby greens, and there you have it. And of course I have to take a bite, and you'll see that when you cut into it, it should be nice and flaky and super moist, not dried out. The most delicious flavor with all that garlic, the lemon zest, mustard. Literally melts in your mouth. So good, delicious. So I hope you guys try this. Thank you so much for joining today's share class. We will be back next week with another recipe that we're going to be using on the grill. Like I said, we're going to squeak out every minute for this fall and spend as much time as we can outside. So I hope you'll join us, and we'll see you again soon.